What is going on, guys? It's Words here with another Anvil video, and today we are excited to show you Draken. The new breaker is awesome. So if you haven't unlocked this breaker yet, I suggest you do so and grind those crowns and then go get this breaker because it is very good. So without further ado, I want to put out a caveat. This build that I'm about to show you is the build that I created. This is not going to be for everyone because it may not be your playstyle, but I believe if you give it a try that you will enjoy this build and you will be able to enjoy the game as well. So take everything with a grain of salt. You may not have some of the relics that I have, but you can grind for them and then you can get them. But everything in this game is about RNG because it's based on the relics that you find during your exploration. So without further ado, let me show you the stat sheets first. As you can see, this is not very impressive as you would imagine, but this is what I've been using and it is very good. It does very good. This is pretty much the same thing for all the characters that I used because I do not change the upgrades because there's no point. In any case, as you can see, you take a look at this, you can see what we have going on, and I will show you in detail in the upgrades and also all the relics that we are using. So let's go first into the breaker slot. So we are using Draken, as I said. And what is this guy? Who is this guy? So if you want to know what this guy is, it is a shooter type breaker, meaning he uses weapons, but he's using a sword, a melee weapon. But you don't have to take my word for it. Just take a look at the latest patch and you will see they explain to you what kind of breaker it is, and once you start playing with him, you know exactly what type of breaker that you are dealing with. You can use weapons for this guy or you can use a sword. But why would you use a weapon for this guy when he's got a sword that can provide bleed status effect on the enemy? But there are so many options. Some of the guns in the game have buffs, and then because it's a shooter breaker, you can use a gun like a shotgun, and one of the best shotgun that comes into mind is the Crasher shotgun. This is a very good shotgun that can give you critical hit 100% every time you use it, and you can use your skills to actually get a lot of benefits. So if you choose that route, go for it. I tried it. I didn't really like that style, so I would prefer to stay with this sword. So that aside, if you like this sword play, then you can also use some of the breakers in the game. Like for instance, you can use any of the shooter breaker, like, you know, Liner and all those guys that use rifle. You can use those guys to use the sword, just as you can use Draken with weapons. Okay, so that's all we have for that, so that way you know exactly what you have to deal with. Now let's go into the build and show you exactly what I am using. Now, if you go inside the character, those are the relics that I'm using. Like, again, like I said in the beginning, you may not have all the same relics that I have, but, you know, it's something that you can strive for, just grind for them. So everything is subjective. You can use them to your advantage, but what I'm using here has been the most consistent for me, and that's why I use those. And I use those for a different reason. Now, the first one is the Charging Greaves. The reason why I use this one because I always like this one, but for some breakers this is very good because you want to use the counter attack, and every time you counter attack in this game, then all your skills reset. So you get the benefit of that and you get to spam your skills all the time as long as you know how to counter attack. And it's very easy to do with this breaker. This is by far one of the easiest breaker to counter attack the enemy. So I've been playing this game for a while and I've tested all the breakers that are in the game, and I have to tell you, this is the easiest breaker to actually counterattack the enemy. So that's why I'm using this, and you can see that I spam this all the time in the gameplay because it is very good. Now, the second one is the status effect immunity that I use. The reason that I use this is because in this game, if you don't have any status effect immunity, then you can fall over very easily. So I use that, but you don't have to. You can take the risk and use something else, whatever makes you happy, but I'm using this. You can give it a try and see if you like it. If you don't, just change it. And then the next one is the status effect scope. I use this one because this guy has a bleed effect whenever he uses weapon. So in order for you to make sure that the effect stays on screen and so you can take advantage of it, you need something to actually make it last. And using this one, make it last for 50%, and it stays there for a little bit longer than it would have been if you didn't have that. So that's why I use that, because I want to take advantage of that. And finally, the last one is attack grips. Now, the reason why I use this is because this game attack power is where it's at. So the higher your attack power, the more damage you are going to do. But for my choosing, I use this one so we can go with the rest of my relics. But you can choose something else if you have something else that is better than this. But this one is very good because, like I said, with the charging grips, that gives you a reset on all your skills. Once you do that, then that takes effect as well for 15 seconds. Every time you use this, you get that 25% attack power. So that's why I use this. Now, for the skill upgrades, the game gives you an option to start with a starting skill upgrade. The one that I choose to start with is the hack and slash upgrade that gives you 2 time duration and hit count for hack and slash. This skill, hack and slash, is gonna be your bread and butter because it is so good. Because not only can you do damage on bosses, but it's also good for clearing a lot of ads on your screen. So I start with this one because you get the 2 time duration. That is very good. But there's also one on the left side that you can start with if you so choose. There's a lot of good ones, but you know, between those two, so those are the one that I choose. So you can try this one or this one, depends on what you want, you know. But as far as when you are playing the game, whenever you see those come up, you need to make sure you pick them up. If you didn't choose the other one from hack and slash, then make sure you get that one whenever you see it. Like for instance, this one, +1 explosion and pulls enemies on first explosion. This is very good. So if you see it, pick it up, because sometimes you have a lot of choices. So if you see this one, pick it up. And also this one that gives you +100% skill power and 30% attack speed, that's also a very good one. And this one in the middle, the +100% damage to bleeding enemies for 10 seconds when using your blade shot. This is also a very good one because this guy applied bleed whenever he used his blade. To apply bleed to the enemy, not only you can use your sword, which is your primary weapon, but you can also use this skill right here, Sweeping Wind. You just go and wail at the enemy and then look at the screen on top, and then you can see that the amount of effect. It goes to 1, 2, 3, and 4, up to 5. And then, you know, that's when you can use your other skill to do damage and then just go to town. So make sure you do that. I will show you the rotation that I use sometime to actually take advantage of the bleed effect. So you make sure you try and follow that. And then also, as far as some of the other skill, just it's gonna be whatever you want. But anytime you see there's one that says 100%, just read them and see if you like them, and then choose them because they are very good. So I'm not gonna spend too much time on this, but this is very good. Now for the counter attack, this is where it's at for this character. You want to be able to counter attack as often as possible, because not only that you are using this for the relic that we use, the one that gives you reset on all your skills, but it also the way that you heal. It is the way that you can get your health back. So you guard, and then normally when the enemy is trying to hit you, then it go counter attack. You can see that on the screen, and then that's how you get your health back. And also you use the relic that gives you all those damage that you see. Now enough about this skill upgrade. So let's go, and so let me show you real quick the toy worker. It doesn't matter, it just choose whatever you want. I use the medic version 2.1 because it is very good, because I got that 20% of max HP every 60 seconds and also got an attack power upgrade. So this is very good. If you don't have this, just save some coins so you can buy this. It is very good. And then now let's go to the upgrades. Now as far as the upgrades, you may not have all those points that I have because I've been playing the game for a while. My suggestion, don't pay too much attention, don't dwell on this too much, because you may not have all the skill points. But if you're building a character, this is the way that I do it. So I go first with the defensive side of thing. On the defensive kind of thing, what I'm trying to do is trying to go all the way down to the bottom where I can get the shield. You get this shield, it says that you generate shield equivalent to 10% of your max HP for 15 seconds every 30 seconds. This is huge. If you can do that, just when you're building your character, just do that because it's very good. There is a relic that do the same thing, but you know, instead of trying to spec for that relic or hoping that you get it during RNG, I just spec for it from the skill tree and then I call it a day. And then my next thing is to go over to the offensive side. On the offensive side, I try to max out everything. If you can do that, you have enough points, max out everything in the offensive, because this game is all about damage. Of course, you want to survive so you can do defensive and stuff like that, but you know, offensive is where it's at. And then once you do all that stuff, then you can just go ahead and then start putting points in some of the other stuff for the strategic side. That's how I build, but you don't have to build that way. You just use what makes sense for you. Now, the only thing that's left for me to tell you is the rotation that I use when I'm playing this guy. Like I said, you want to have the reset of all your skill every time you do it, but for me, I try to apply bleed, but oftentimes I ended up spamming the hack and slash because it does a lot of damage, and then that's what I do. But if you want to apply bleed before you use hack and slash, what you do, you just use the sweeping. Just do it. You can get 3 of it, so you can use it 3 times, and then you can look at the bleeds, how much you have, and then you go proceed to hack and slash. Hack and slash just do so much damage and it can clear a lot of enemy, but if you're doing boss damage, it goes all to the boss, so that's why it's good. And then lastly, for the third one, I just go ahead and just use the blade shock. Now, the blade shock is not very easy to control, but as long as you practice with it, you will be able to land it on the enemy as often as possible. But sometimes you might miss because the enemy move, or you know, it is like that. So I would say that just practice with it. Then you repeat the process or do whatever you feel like you want to do, because for me personally, a lot of time I just don't pay attention too much to the rotation. I just do it because I've been doing it for a minute, and then I just, most of the time, I just spam the hack and slash because it is so good and I have it so often, so I have to use it. Anyway, guys, that's all I have for this build. Give it a try. Like I said, you don't have to use the same things that I'm using. You don't have to do the same thing that I do. Let's just give you a basic, something to start with. Experiment with all the relics, or it depends on what you have, and then see what works for you. But what I show you here has been very consistent for me. As you can see, I have all 4 relic slots open. That's because I've been testing a lot of relics. Anyway, guys, I hope you find this informative. Thank you guys for watching. I will see you guys later.